Have you ever tested something and the feedback was really clear, but the next day a completely different answer using the same tool, the same way, testing the same thing? That's what we're diving deep into today. I'm Janelle, creator of Simple Health Test, the method that helps you verify before you choose what to do next. Now, when I say testing, I'm talking about things like body feedback, muscle testing, dosing, or even your own sense of, does this feel right for me? That intuition. Maybe you were checking foods or a supplement and it was a clear yes one day, but then the next day, the answers flipped and then you got confused. I'm curious, has that ever happened to you? By the end of this video, you will know why that happens and what you're missing. By the way, this is an interactive video, which means I'm going to have you do some testing with me so you can experience it for yourself instead of just hearing about it. We're going to cover a lot, so you might want to write some things down or save this video for later. Listen, these feedback tools are actually incredible. I've been using them for decades, personally and professionally, for pet health too. But what I see happen all the time is that you use a tool, but then you start to lose trust in it or in your skills or abilities to use the tool correctly. And if you're using it to help other people with their health, if you're recommending or selling products, this becomes a big, big deal, right? Because now you're making decisions without feeling fully certain. So stay with me for a few more minutes because once you see what's really going on, you'll be able to understand why your answers change and how to start making decisions you can trust using feedback tools, even if you're brand new. So let's use a real example for a second so you can understand the concept, okay? Let's say you're dealing with fatigue and you know that something like magnesium can be helpful. So you test it out and the feedback you get is a clear yes. So you take it or you recommend it to your customers or clients. You think, great, that's what was needed. Time passes and nothing much changes. You retest. This time you get a clear no. Soon, you're caught in this loop of trying a bunch of things, but nothing really seems to work. It's not your fault. You were just never shown this. A simple three-step method that takes the basics of the yes-no answers, the feedback, and turns it into deeper data that you can actually use to make more informed choices and decisions. Let me explain, going back to our earlier example. What if fatigue isn't where the body wanted you to start? What if the real priority was something else like iron, adrenals, even thyroid? And now you've gone and jumped ahead. Same symptom, fatigue, but a different starting point, which means a different direction, a different solution. And here's where it starts to get more confusing if you don't have a method to help you see it. What if the magnesium you chose, because there's a lot of options out there, what if it helped a little bit, but not that much, not enough? So now you're thinking, okay, I guess that worked. Am I missing something? And if it's a client or a customer, at this point, they might be feeling disappointed. They might even come and return your products. In a minute, we're going to do a test together to help you with this. So stay with me here. We are covering a lot. All right, let's go a little deeper. What if that magnesium helps in one area, fatigue in this example, but now something else shows up over here, like maybe digestion feels off or sleep changes, and now it's not lining up the way you hoped or expected. So now you're wondering, wait, was that even the right move? And the uncertainty starts to grow. And then there's this layer you were probably never taught to check at all. What's interfering? I teach my students to check this part because sometimes it's not just what you need to add, but it's what a body is already trying to deal with hidden in the background, like maybe a food, an herb, a daily habit, something someone uses regularly that's quietly working against that body. Often it's something that seemed fine for a long time on the surface, but sort of flew under the radar. So now you have all of these moving parts with no clear way to know which path you're supposed to follow. You actually need to know three things. Where does the body want you to start? What's going to move things forward in a meaningful way? And what's interfering or getting in the way? If you're not checking all of those pieces, you're working with incomplete information. And that's why something can test good one day and not the next. It isn't random. You're just not seeing all of the data available to you by using those tools. Now, if you want to understand testing at this level, hit subscribe because this is what we break down here. I remember one student, she had a client dealing with low energy. Now, her go-to recommendations, which she'd always used over and over, was a magnesium and ginseng combination. Sometimes it helped, but it never fully resolved for this client. So this time, instead of stopping at yes, no, she went much deeper. And here's what came up first: a candida issue. Her body didn't even need magnesium at all. And she discovered that chocolate was a big part of the primary problem. It was continually interfering. And once she had that added data, not only did her client's energy improve, but the skin issues she was experiencing that she'd been dealing with for years finally started to resolve. Same symptom, fatigue, but completely different approach using the same feedback tool. Now, keep staying with me here because what we're about to do next is the part that most people never check, and it changes everything. Before we do some testing together in just a second, please note that I'm going to skip over the pre-check that I always teach for the purpose of this video. That pre-check makes sure that the feedback you get is clear. In fact, I have a short walkthrough in the description below this video, so you can go grab that. It's free. Okay, let's do some testing. So we're going to test the current level of our energy. We need to find out where our energy is at right now. Is it super high and it needs to calm down? Is it really low? Or am I somewhere in the middle? We need to know that information before we can even think in terms of solutions. That makes sense, right? Okay, I'm going to demonstrate how I would check my energy using a simple sway test. So I'm going to do this. I'm sitting. I'm going to put my hand over the center of my chest, close my eyes, and I'm just waiting for my body to respond. There, right there. Did you see my body start to lean and fall forward? That shift for me tells me my energy is pretty good right now. It radiated out. Now, let's say it wasn't. Let's say it was very close to my body, a much shorter distance, and I've been feeling tired all the time. So then I might go ahead and test something like magnesium and it comes up with a yes, because this is what most of us do, assuming that that then would be the right fit, the solution for me. But here's the part I would miss. I need to go back and check my energy again with the magnesium to see, is that actually going to improve things or is it basically going to stay the same? Otherwise, I would have a yes, okay, fine. But if there's no real change, that's the gap. That's why something can feel like it's working when it's barely moving anything at all. So the real question then isn't, is this good for me, yes or no? And the problem isn't the tool or even whether or not you can use the tool. It's that you're not accessing all of the data. And a body is always giving information if you have a method to access it using those tools. So when something comes up as a yes, it doesn't mean it's the full and complete answer because it still doesn't tell you where the body wanted to start. It still doesn't tell you what's going to move things to the highest outcome possible. And it still doesn't show you what might be interfering. So what typically happens is this, and this is what most people do. Think of filling a styrofoam cup with all of these good things and good stuff. But at the same time, you're poking holes in the bottom of the cup and everything is leaking out. It's working against it. So you're making progress, but you're not really getting ahead. And when you start to see it like that, that's when things shift because now you're not just getting answers, you're understanding them. By the way, if that demo didn't really land for you or you didn't notice much, this is exactly why I always start with this simple pre-check, because if the signal isn't clear, the feedback won't be either. So start with the free step-by-step. It's like a mini training. It's the first thing I teach my students, and you can grab that below this video in the description. Listen, once you start using your tools like this, having a method, you don't have to guess anymore. You're not relying on textbook answers or reading reviews or trying what worked for someone else. You're making real informed decisions with deep feedback and data based on what that body says it needs. And that's where confidence really starts to compound. You stop second guessing your tools and your abilities to use them. You stop second guessing yourself. You can move beyond the basics of yes, no, making choices and recommendations with more certainty. And that's when you can finally start seeing faster results, even real transformation. If this video helped you, hit like and share so more people can find it. And remember, when in doubt, test it out. I'll see you next time.